yeah, when I got into the asymmetrics, that was kind of my first like shape that deviated from the traditional fish shape, and the idea was to maintain aspects of speed but increase aspects of maneuverability and the ability to like control the speed a little bit. And so I went through some different fin templates, and at the time I was heavily influenced by the like early boards that Daniel Thompson was doing, and he brought some early models of like the planing hull designs to the States that incorporated some like Greeno influenced paddle fins, and I was riding those a lot because they seemed to respond really well to like generating speed in gutless surf. And these are like California boards that were, you know, little like grovelly shredders. And when I took those boards to Indo, I took like a bunch of different fins with me, like 20 different templates, and I had a lot of the paddle fins, and then I also had like just a more simple based like 5 1/4 inch tall twin fin single foil template. And riding the paddle fins in a little more juice, I felt like they didn't like harness all the speed and pressure that you were building up against the fins. So I tend to like the high aspect twin fin a little more, and I kind of just like found a template and a shape that worked for me and stuck with that over like a decade and changed the shape of the board. I kind of was like into keeping one constant, and so every time I would switch fins out and try different templates, I wasn't too into them because I just felt like I found something that like just really worked with the Asym design. So I was running like on the 1 fin, 2 fin models, I was running like a basic stout base twin fin, and then I was running like a paddly quad setup because that seemed like, you know, from twin fin to quad, the stability change was balanced with the paddle fins. There was a long period of time where I thought that this solved a couple of issues with the thruster and could totally replace it. But since going back to thrusters recently, I realized that there's like this of control of the release that comes from the depth and size of the fins and where they're located on the board, how they evenly bust out when you go through the lip and stuff. That is insane with the thruster. And then like the thruster has this thing where it's anchored, you know, so the anchoring gives you the ability to like analyze your surroundings and like push accordingly. Or it's actually like a really forgiving design where you can be clumsy but like have this like brute force that it really responds to. Whereas my boards, like I was saying before, I was at a point in my surfing where I was like heightened awareness to like these like little weird quirky things, and so I was able to really like tap into or like overcome the difficult aspects of riding a twin fin, and they really did like fit that mold for me for like the ultimate high performance thing. And I feel like with my boards, like if I were to compare my most thruster like Asym to a thruster, you're still kind of like looking for places to slow down on my board, whereas with the thruster you're looking for areas that are going to give you speed. So you're kind of like the thing that you're like searching for is different. Fundamentally they're totally different, but they can be ridden by someone who rides a thruster and vice versa, like flip-flop back and forth. So it's not there to replace it, but it is like it spun in a different package. So I think it's definitely like they're high performance, like definitely like fit the same genre as a thruster, and like I'm analyzing them and refining them in the same way where I'm scrutinizing rocker and volume flow in like as minimal of a volume package as is applicable to the rider. And yeah, it's just where they hold and where when you push on them and like at what angle the rail works the best is what's totally different. I think when I started making surfboards, I was just like into making them as fast and as out of control as possible to like make an average day at home exciting. And then traveling, I wanted to see like how much of that like out of control speed and like quickness I was able to maintain without being able to not ride the wave. Now with surfing would be, I mean, it's kind of just gone into like this long refinement process where I'm looking at the nitpicky little like things that you do in a low volume surfboard where you're trying to like balance the volume right to, you know, just the right amount to get you to do what you need to do and have like maximum control. And you know, shortboards that just are mindless, that feel like an extension of your body, and you're able to just, you know, access anything with speed and control comfortably and just surf the way you want to surf. Intention with the fin initially was just to like create stability, and it kind of was only recently brought to my attention that it was like pretty small for what's out there on the market, and because they seem fine to me. And also like for twin fin shapes, typically I'm running pretty narrow tails or I'm surfing them in really gutless surf. So it was never like, oh, this board's underfinned, it's slidey. Like I feel like with my shapes, I'm looking for like maximum effectiveness out of as small of a planing surface as you can get. And that's been a huge focus. And like so many of the design features in my boards are geared towards getting the board to plane as much as possible with the surface that you're using. There's not a lot of extra in there with them. And so, yeah, it's kind of coming to my attention that I am like pushing the envelope towards like as small as you can make them, and the fins are, you know, pretty downsized because typically they're ran pretty close together in those Asym boards, and yeah, they're definitely smaller, maybe because of my like power ratio. And I guess, I mean, I rode finless boards a lot too, and you just become comfortable with like really using the rail too. And then the Asyms that I make are typically like pretty parallel rail shapes, so as soon as you're putting them on rail, you're getting a lot of engagement like over a large area without needing to actually like bury the board down into the water. So you can get away with a lot smaller fin template on a shape like that. So it's definitely like complements my board shapes. The set that I have available with True Ames, it's kind of like my tried and true, and it's just based off of like what I feel like enhances the performance of my board. So I've always like, we'll address the angle first. Like I've always enjoyed the fins to be like pretty upright. I feel like as you splay out fins, it's kind of like running your trucks looser on a skateboard or something. It like allows them to like move more freely onto rail, but you might not get as much drive out of it. Like setting them a little bit more vertical, I feel like is just making them solid and feel like they're there for you when you put them into a turn. And then foil wise, the first couple takes with True Ames came out a little thin, and it really kind of brought to my attention how downsized the template actually was, because with these thinner ones, they had like a bit of flex and just a little less of a sense of hold from the water running over them, and they felt like really squirrely and slidey. And so since then we've kind of worked on beefing up the panel to a point where it like maintains a lot of curvature in the outside foil, which gives it like more of a sense of hold. And then the stiffness of the fin is also, you know, helping to not bleed any of that speed buildup pressure that you get against the inside of the foil. And so the fin's like it's a small sized fin with hopefully like as much drive as you could want from it. And I think like I notice a big difference when you add depth to your fin, you just increase the drag of it. So they're like still short enough to where they're going to be like so zippy and fast and free feeling and really get your board up to speed really quickly.